Okay, now we're cooking one of our favorite parts of the meal is the starch and mashed potatoes. Now, a lot of times we make mashed potatoes, they're lumpy, they get cold and they get hard, and you're wondering, okay, why are they not creamy? Why are they not flavorful enough? Why are they not fluffy? Well, there's a few tricks to them, and it's minor tricks, there's nothing hard. Number one, a lot of people will tell you to peel your potatoes and cut them into little pieces. If you don't have a real steamer, you're boiling them, as you see here in the water. And when you boil them and they're in pieces, they're going to obtain more water. I leave mine whole. I like whole potatoes. And if they're really big potatoes, you're making a lot of mashed potatoes, make sure the pot is bigger. And do not let any of the potato sit outside the water. Make sure it's submerged completely. And just keep it to a boil. Let it boil, but don't let it boil rapidly. You can turn it down to a kind of a high to a medium boil, and if you need a lid on it, go ahead, so the condensation hits up and hits back down and just keeps it evenly cookingly. You don't need a lid, but you know, if you don't make mashed potatoes very often, that's what you do. The next thing you do is that I use cream, especially for the holidays, not milk. You know, if you're on a budget, I understand the milk part, but the milk doesn't really make it as creamy. The milk and the cream has, you know, butter fat in it, and then I always add my butter because you like to have that buttery flavored, and I use real butter and unsalted butter. This way I can adjust my seasonings properly, so make sure it's unsalted butter. Right here I have about a cup of cream and about 4 ounces of butter, unsalted butter, so none of it's seasoned, but I melt it. I make sure I preheated this up on the side because I want hot cream and hot butter to hit my hot potatoes. I don't want nothing cold going inside them. So right now, the potatoes are done, they're whole as you can see, and they've just been boiling. I don't put any salt in the water, no nothing. So I'm gonna strain this real quick, so give me a second. Okay, so I'm gonna come back, put them on here. I turn off the stove, but the stove is still kind of warm. But look at this right here, okay? My potatoes are still whole, they're nice. And a lot of people are busy and they start working and they just let them sit. You cannot let your potatoes sit. The minute you strain them, put them right back into the pot. And many people will also put them in a bowl. They'll put them in a low cold bowl, and then the bowl is cold. But I like putting them right back into the pot because guess what? That pot is still hot. Okay? And then they start adding their liquid right away. No. Take the potatoes right away and just leave them in the hot pot. Get your little mixer. And I kind of break them down a little bit like this before I even turn it on, okay? This way I take away the lumps and it doesn't splatter, you don't make a mess. And then I, on real low at the beginning, so we just kind of crush them up. Otherwise, that's why you see lumps, is because you're putting either cold milk into them, you're letting them sit, and that's why you get lumpy and starchy potatoes. Have you ever made mashed potatoes and they have this like bluey, shiny look to it, the sheer? You know, these are the reasons why. Okay, the trick is mashing your potatoes the minute they come out. You know, now if you don't have a mixer, you can use a regular masher. There's nothing wrong with it. I just like mine to have a little bit more fluff to it, a little more. And as I start mashing it a little bit more, I'm gonna heat them just a little bit more. And I like it at high speed. Look at that. When they say whipped potatoes, I'm all about nice and creamy and fluffy. So then I'm going to turn them down for a little bit, and then I'm going to put a little bit of salt, just to season it just a little bit at the beginning, okay? And then I want holiday mashed potatoes. I want to taste that holiday festiveness. And again, you want to put rosemary, garlic or Parmesan cheese, go ahead. It's up to you. But I put a little bit of nutmeg in. This is a fresh nutmeg grinder. You can use powdered nutmeg, which is probably just as good. And you're just going to grind the nutmeg. Look at that. So it's fresh nutmeg into there. And that gives it the flavor. Now don't put too much, because nutmeg is pretty strong. Then I'm going to whip in that flavor in there real quick. I'm not going to taste it right away. Just want to make sure it's evenly mixed in there. And I make sure I scrape around the bowls. And then I'm going to add my liquid. Again, this is hot liquid. And if it cooled down, reheat it real quick. But look at that butter and that cream. Only pour half. Okay? Remember, you can add, but you can't take away. Okay, so then you're going to mix it up. And I'm going to speed it up, speed real quick. And look at the creaminess to this. Not too bad. A little more faster. Okay, I'm gonna show you the texture. Look at that texture. Look how creamy that is. Now, if you want a little bit more creamy, you can. I'm gonna take my little fork here. I know it's under seasoned. Look how creamy that is. Blow on it. Actually, if you don't like a lot of sodium, that's almost perfect. I only put a pinch of salt. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt though. One more bite. I want a little bit more nutmeg. Again, you can always add, you can't take away. But nutmeg really gives that flavor. I'm gonna add just a little bit more dollop of this. And then slowly whip it. Don't put it at a high speed because it's gonna get all over you and all over the kitchen. And then you go at another speed. And then, let's keep going. Now, I'm whipping it. If you can see that, look at that. Look how nice and fluffy that is. Now, if you wanted to make cheddar mashed potatoes, you'd grate some sharp cheddar cheese. You could. But again, I want you to learn the basics before you graduate and start flavoring things. Okay, then I'm going to take this out, balance these out, put this to the side, and then let me just show you in a bowl real quick. This is how creamy the mashed potatoes come out. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that mashed potatoes. Look how creamy those are. Where's the lumps? Do you see any lumps there? And now the official taste test. Look at that. Oh, nice and hot, creamy, buttery, and they're consistent. They can sit there, reheat, and they're not going to harden up. Guaranteed. Melt in your mouth. Go really nice with that gravy and that turkey.